Atoms. They make up everything. What are atoms? Atoms are the smallest pieces of elements that still have all the chemical properties of an element. There are over 100 types of atom. Atoms are made up of subatomic particles called protons, neutrons, and electrons. Protons and neutrons are in the nucleus of an atom, which is in the center, while electrons orbit around the nucleus. The structure of an atom affects its properties. While most atoms of the same element are identical, there are two exceptions that will be discussed in today's presentation. The first is isotopes. Atoms of the same element with different numbers of neutrons are called isotopes. For example, palladium has 6 isotopes: palladium 102, 104, 105, 106, 108, and 110. Isotopes of an atom have different mass numbers because of the extra or missing neutrons. Palladium 106 weighs more than palladium 105, and palladium 108 less than palladium 110. Some isotopes are unstable and as a result are radioactive. Radioactive isotopes, or radioisotopes, can be used for a lot of things, such as generating energy, sterilizing surgical instruments, preserving food, fighting crime, and detecting cracks in structural materials. They have other medicinal uses as well. Palladium 104, for example, can be used to fight prostate cancer, while palladium 109 is used in other cancer therapies. Palladium 108 and 110 can be used in experiments involving nuclear decay and nuclear fusion. Another way atoms of the same element can differ is in the number of electrons they have. In their natural state, atoms are electrically neutral and have the same number of protons and electrons. When an atom gains or loses an electron, it becomes ionized because the ratio of protons and electrons is no longer 1 to 1, and therefore has an electrical charge. The electrons in an atom are arranged in different energy levels. There are 4 types of energy level: S, P, D, and F. Each type of energy level holds more orbitals than the last. Each orbital holds 2 electrons with opposite spins. According to Aufbau's principle, electrons fill the lower energy levels first and continue on to fill higher energy levels after the lower levels have been filled. Using these concepts, it is possible to determine the electron configurations of many elements. Just start with 1s1 and continue through the energy levels from lowest to highest until every electron has been placed into an orbital on an energy level. But how do we know electrons exist in varying energy levels? The answer to that is simple: atomic emission spectroscopy. When light passes through an atom, a line spectrum with missing colors appear. If enough electricity is passed through the atom, an emission spectrum is produced. The emission spectrum is mostly black with a few colored stripes, the ones missing from the absorption spectrum, and these vary based on the number of electrons in the atoms. Different colors are different frequencies of light, which have different levels of energy, which implies that the atom's electrons are arranged in different energy levels if they can produce different patterns of colored lines on an emission line spectrum. Now it's time for a quiz. Please read the questions presented and answer them on a separate sheet of paper as best as you can. Be sure to include as many of the concepts you've learned about in your responses as possible. These are the answers to the previous questions. The responses listed each have multiple concepts that a student should have included when answering each question. A point value is attached to each element a student can be expected to include to allow for an instructor to view the student's score based on how many of the concepts she or he included in her or his responses. While a perfect score of 49 isn't necessary to indicate the student has understood the contents of this presentation, the student should be able to earn at least 28 points.
Created using Powtoon.